Ambassador Park Mio walked through the long corridor leading to the Galactic Council chamber. His black suit looked small and plain next to the colorful robes and armor of the alien delegates around him. Behind him, his assistant Kim Soo-young carried a simple briefcase. They both knew this would be their last day here. The chamber was huge. 47 different alien species sat on raised platforms that curved around in a giant circle. At the center was a small platform where humans had to stand when the council spoke to them. Miho had stood there many times over the past 3 years. Today felt different. The lights dimmed and Chancellor Vextar of the Zoltharian Empire rose from his golden throne. He was twice as tall as any human, with 4 arms and skin that looked like blue metal. His voice boomed to the chamber when he spoke. Human Ambassador, Vextar said, his tone cold and final. 3 years of talks have ended. The Council has made its decision. These are our final terms. You will accept them or face the consequences. Miho stood perfectly still. Kim Soo-young activated her recording device. Around them, alien eyes stared down like judges at trial. First, Vextar continued, humans will give up 80% of their military ships to Council control. Second, Council inspectors will be placed on every human world to watch your activities. Third, humans will pay money equal to 50 years of your total planet production as punishment for your aggressive expansion into our territories. The insect-like Thraxian delegate clicked its sharp mouth parts in agreement. Your species has grown too bold. Humans, you build colonies where you please. You trade without permission. You act as if you belong in civilized space. This ends now. Other aliens nodded their approval. The fish-like Nereidans gurgled their agreement through their water tanks. The crystal beings called Meridians chimed like breaking glass. The warrior race known as Kargith pounded their weapons on their platforms. Miho listened to every word. His face showed nothing. He had expected this moment for months. Earth's government had prepared him for exactly this situation. You have 1 standard day to accept these terms, Vextar declared. After that, the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will enforce our will upon your species. No civilization has ever survived outside Council protection. You humans are not special. The chamber fell silent. Every alien, I focus on the small human standing in the center. They expected him to ask for time to consider. They expected him to beg for softer terms. They expected him to show fear. Instead, Park Miho smiled. Chancellor Vextar, he said in a clear, calm voice. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, I have heard your final offer. I will now give you humanity's final answer. He paused and looked around the chamber, meeting alien eyes without flinching. We reject your terms completely. All of them. Every single demand. Shocked whispers filled the air. Several aliens leaned forward on their platforms. This was not what they had planned for. Furthermore, Mio continued, effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all council territories, trade agreements, and diplomatic relations. We are done with this council. We are done with these negotiations. We are done with all of you. Chancellor Vextar for arms spread wide in disbelief. You cannot be serious, Ambassador. You speak madness. No species leaves the council. It is impossible. You will find, Miho said quietly, that humans specialize in doing the impossible. Kim Soo-young stepped forward and handed him a sealed document. Miho held it up for all to see. This is Executive Order 2157, signed by the President of the Human Republic 6 hours ago. All Council personnel have 72 hours to evacuate human space. Any Council ships or stations found in our territory after that time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. The chamber erupted in angry shouts and alien curses. Several delegates stood up, their voices mixing into a storm of rage and disbelief. Vextar's laugh was like metal scraping against stone. Foolish humans, you think you can survive alone? Within months you will crawl back to us, begging for mercy. We control the trade routes. We control the technology. We control everything that matters in this galaxy. Do you? Miho asked. He turned to Kim Soo-young. Send the signal. She pressed a button on her briefcase. across the galaxy. The message went out to every human facility, every human ship, every human colony. Operation Exodus had begun. Gentlemen, Miho said as he walked toward the exit, ladies, distinguished beings, you are about to learn something very important about humanity. We do not bluff. We do not beg. And we do not need you nearly as much as you need us. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the two humans left the chamber. The great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the corridor outside, Kim Soo-young finally allowed herself to smile. Sir, do you think they understood the message? Park Miho adjusted his tie and headed toward their ship. They will soon enough. By tomorrow, half the galaxy will be learning just how much they depended on human expertise. By next month, they will understand the true meaning of consequences. Behind them, the Galactic Council chamber filled with the sounds of panic as the most powerful beings in the galaxy realized they had just made the biggest mistake in their long, arrogant lives. The human ship lifted off from Nexus Prime, carrying its passengers toward a future the galaxy was not prepared for. Captain Lee Do-hyun was unloading cargo containers on Meridian Station when his communicator buzzed with an urgent message. The code was one he had memorized years ago but never expected to see. Operation Exodus. Authorization level Omega 7. All human personnel were to evacuate immediately. He looked around the busy docking bay. Alien workers moved cargo with their mechanical arms. Meridian crystal beings supervised the operations, their bodies glowing soft blue in the artificial light. None of them knew what was coming. Attention all human crew members. Do-hyun announced over his ship's communication system. Report to the bridge immediately. We are departing in 30 minutes. His first officer, Lieutenant Park Jae-woo, looked confused. Sir, we still have 12 hours of cargo operations scheduled. Not anymore. Do-hyun replied, showing her the message. Pack everything. Leave nothing behind. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were starting to unfold. Dr. Choi Yin-ji was in her laboratory on the Arcturian Research Station when her emergency communicator activated. She stared at the message for a long moment, then began systematically shutting down her experiments. Her Arcturian research partner, Dr. Ziltera, watched with growing alarm. Yin-ji, what are you doing? The quantum cascade experiment cannot be stopped now. We are so close to a breakthrough. I am sorry, Yin-ji said as she began downloading research data onto portable drives. All human personnel are being recalled to Earth space. Our collaboration is ending. Ending? But why? We have worked together for 15 years. This research will benefit both our species. Yin-ji looked at her friend with genuine sadness. The research will continue, but only on human worlds now. The Galactic Council made their choice. Now we are making ours. She finished downloading the data and began packing her personal belongings. The Arcturian stood frozen, watching years of joint work being dismantled in hours. On the agricultural world of Zelthera, Chief Engineer Ryu Jae-hwan supervised the shutdown of the massive food production facilities that fed half the Zeltherian Empire. Human-designed hydroponic systems that had grown crops for billions of aliens were being systematically powered down. The local Zeltherian administrator arrived in a panic. Engineer Ryu, what is happening? The food production systems are failing across the entire planet. They are not failing. Jae-hwan replied calmly as he directed his team to remove critical components. We are shutting them down. All human personnel are leaving Zeltherian space. You cannot do this. Billions depend on this food production. Without these systems, our people will starve. Jae-hwan paused in his work. Then I suggest you contact your chancellor and ask him why he thought threatening humanity was a good idea. The withdrawal was happening everywhere at once. Commander Han Myri oversaw the evacuation of the massive mining operation on Asteroid Belt Gamma 7. The facility had been extracting rare minerals for the Vorthan Merchant Union for 25 years. Destroy what we cannot take, she ordered her demolition teams. Make sure nothing valuable falls into their hands. The explosions could be seen from 3 star systems away as the mining equipment was systematically destroyed. Decades of human engineering work disappeared in bright flashes of light. In the Thraxian shipyards, human fleet engineer Kim Min-soo was downloading the software that controlled their most advanced warships. The Thraxians had insisted that human-designed computer systems were inferior to their own, but somehow they had ended up using human software in 90% of their fleet. "This is theft," buzzed the Thraxian overseer, its insect-like mandibles clicking rapidly. "That software belongs to the Thraxian collective. The software was written by humans, using human knowledge, based on human research." Min-soo replied as the download completed. "It never belonged to you. You were just borrowing it." He activated a virus that would corrupt all remaining copies of the software within 72 hours. The Thraxian fleet would soon find their targeting systems, navigation computers, and weapons control completely useless. The scale of the withdrawal amazed even the humans themselves. They had not realized how deeply they had become integrated into galactic civilization. Human doctors left alien hospitals, taking their medical knowledge with them. Human teachers departed alien schools. Human engineers abandoned construction projects that had taken years to build. Trade routes that had connected distant worlds for decades suddenly had no ships to carry cargo. The human merchant fleet, which had handled 60% of all galactic commerce, simply vanished overnight. Alien traders found themselves stranded on distant worlds with no way to transport their goods. The Vorthan merchant Prince Kextau watched his trade empire collapse in real time. Computer screens showed shipping routes going dark one by one as human vessels departed. Entire star systems were cut off from the galactic economy. "How did they become so important?" he asked his advisors. "They are just one species among 47. His chief economist, a nervous being with 6 arms, consulted his data. "Sir, humans handle logistics for 39 of our member worlds. They design the navigation systems for our transport fleet. They manage the currency exchange systems that allow trade between different species. Within 2 weeks, the first shortages appeared. Medical supplies could not reach distant colonies because human transport ships were gone. Food production failed on dozens of worlds as human agricultural experts departed. Manufacturing ground to a halt as human-designed automation systems shut down without their creators to maintain them. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about dependence. For 50 years, they had dismissed humans as a minor species, useful only for manual labor and simple tasks. They had never bothered to notice that humans had quietly become the glue holding their civilization together. Now that glue was gone, and everything was falling apart. Chancellor Vextar stood in his private chambers, watching the protests outside his palace through the tall windows. Thousands of Zeltharians filled the streets, carrying signs and shouting angry words. They were hungry, and they blamed him. How long can the food reserves last? He asked his chief advisor, Minister Colvan. 3 months, maybe 4 if we reduce rations again. Colvan replied nervously. The hydroponic systems are completely dead. Our engineers cannot restart them without the human technical manuals. Vextar slammed his 4 fists on his desk. We are the Zeltharian Empire. We conquered 12 star systems. How can we be defeated by the absence of a few human farmers? It was not just farmers, Chancellor. The humans designed our entire food production network. They built the machines, wrote the computer programs, and trained our workers. When they left, they took all that knowledge with them. Outside, the crowds were getting louder. Someone threw a rock at the palace gates. Vextar had ruled for 30 years, but he had never seen his people this angry. On the ocean world of Nereid Prime, the situation was even worse. The underwater cities that housed billions of Nereidans were slowly flooding. The pressure control systems that kept the water at safe levels had been designed by human engineers 50 years ago. Chief Engineer Tolmesh swam frantically between the failing machines, trying to understand how they worked. The instruction manuals were written in human languages that no Nereidan had bothered to learn. The computer codes were too complex for their technicians to understand. "The water level in Sector 7 is rising too fast," reported his assistant. "We may need to evacuate the entire district." "Evacuate to where?" Tolmesh replied bitterly. "The same problems exist in every city. Without the human maintenance teams, all our cities will flood within months. In the crystal cities of Meridia, the lights were going out one by one. The Meridians had always been proud of their beautiful glowing towers that could be seen from space. But those towers needed massive amounts of power, and the power systems were failing. Meridian Council leader Silera watched helplessly as another section of the capital city went dark. Her crystalline body, usually bright with inner light, had grown dim with worry. "Have our scientists made any progress understanding the human power systems?" she asked her chief researcher. "None, leader. The human fusion reactors work on principles we do not understand. Our best physicists say the technology should not work at all, yet it powered our cities for decades. When the humans shut them down, they took the secret with them." The warrior race called Kargath was facing a different, but equally serious problem. Their mighty war fleets, feared across the galaxy, were grounded. The targeting systems on their ships were malfunctioning, making their weapons useless. General Mortak stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at error messages on every screen. His weapons officer had been trying to fix the problems for weeks with no success. "The computers are rejecting all our commands," the officer reported. "It is as if the software is fighting against us." Mortak growled with frustration. "How did we become so dependent on human computer programs? We are warriors, not children playing with toys. The humans convinced us their software would make our ships more efficient. We never imagined they would take it away." The most desperate situation was in the Thraxian hive systems. The collective consciousness of the insect-like Thraxians was experiencing something they had never felt before: genuine fear. Their calculations showed that losing human technology had set their civilization back by centuries. The Thraxian Queen Mind communicated with her drones through telepathic signals that carried pure panic. Their space stations were losing orbit because the navigation computers were dead. Their manufacturing centers had stopped working. Even their communication networks were failing. In emergency council sessions that met every day now, the alien leaders looked nothing like the proud rulers who had demanded human submission 6 months ago. They were desperate, frightened beings watching their civilizations crumble. "We must contact the humans," pleaded the Vorthan trade minister. "My merchant fleets are stranded across the galaxy. Without human navigation systems, they cannot find their way home." "And say what?" snapped Chancellor Vextar. "That we were wrong? That we need them?" "Yes," said several voices at once. The Arcturian science director presented his report with shaking hands. "Our research capability has dropped by 80%. The humans took not just their people, but their knowledge, their databases, their research methods. We are blind without them." Dr. Yoon Hajin watched these developments from the human monitoring station hidden in the Kepler system. Her job was to observe and report on the galactic situation. Her reports to Earth made for interesting reading. Day 187 post-withdrawal. She spoke into her recorder. "The Zoltharian government is facing revolution. Food riots have spread to 16 planets. The Chancellor has requested emergency aid from other council species, but they are dealing with their own crises." She switched to another report. "The Thraxian Hive Queen has sent 43 separate communication attempts to human space. All have been ignored per Protocol 7. Their desperation is increasing daily." The most satisfying report came from Nexus Prime itself. The Galactic Council Chamber has been empty for 12 days. Member species are too busy dealing with internal problems to attend meetings. Several species have begun direct negotiations with their neighbors, bypassing the Council entirely. On Earth, President Kim Sun-woo read these reports with grim satisfaction. The plan was working better than they had hoped. The aliens were learning a valuable lesson about taking others for granted. The galaxy that had once dismissed humanity as unimportant was discovering just how wrong they had been. Ambassador Park Miho sat in his office on Luna Station, looking at the holographic displays that showed the galaxy in chaos. Red warning lights blinked across dozens of star systems. Each light represented a civilization in crisis. He felt no joy watching the destruction, but he felt no guilt either. His replacement, Ambassador Han Myri, entered the room carrying the latest intelligence reports. She was younger than Miho, but just as calm under pressure. The Council had taught humanity many things about diplomacy over the years, including how to be patient. The situation is getting worse every day, she said, placing the data tablets on his desk. 17 council species have declared states of emergency. 3 governments have already fallen. Miho picked up the first report and read it carefully. The Zeltharian Empire was in complete collapse. Chancellor Vextar, who had laughed at humanity just 2 years ago, was now hiding in a bunker while his people rioted in the streets. The food shortages had become so severe that millions were starving. What about their military? Miho asked. Their fleets are mostly grounded. Without human maintenance, their ships keep breaking down. The few vessels still operating are being used to transport emergency food supplies between planets. Through the window, Earth looked peaceful and beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents full of thriving cities. Human space had never been more prosperous. All the resources once spent on galactic diplomacy were now being used to improve human worlds and explore new frontiers. Captain Lim Kyung-soo commanded one of the new exploration fleets that were mapping the galaxy's outer regions. His latest transmission had been very encouraging. Sector 94 Alpha confirmed clear of all council presence. Found 12 habitable worlds with excellent mineral deposits. No territorial claims from any known species. Request permission to begin colonization surveys. The irony was beautiful. While the council species fought over scraps of their collapsing territories, humanity was expanding into virgin space at a rate never before seen. They were free to explore without asking permission, free to colonize without paying tribute, free to grow without artificial limits. General Kwok Juno entered the office carrying more reports. As head of strategic defense, he monitored all military developments across the galaxy. His news was particularly interesting. The Kargath Empire just lost their 3rd fleet this month, he announced. Their flagship exploded during a routine patrol. The reactor containment system failed because they do not understand how their own power systems work. The Kargath had always been proud warriors, claiming their strength came from superior fighting spirit. They had never admitted that their most advanced weapons were designed by human engineers. Now their mighty fleets were death traps, killing their own crews through technical failures. How many requests for help have we received this week? Miho asked. 137, Myri replied, each one more desperate than the last. The Vorthen are offering us complete control of their trade routes. The Meridians want to give us 3 star systems in exchange for just repairing their power grids. The requests kept getting more extreme. Some species were offering to become human colonies in exchange for technical assistance. Others wanted to trade their entire military fleets for a few human engineers. The proud civilizations that had once demanded human submission were now begging for human mercy. Dr. Choi Yunji was leading the human research teams in the Outer Rim territories. Her report showed just how much progress humanity was making while the galaxy burned. Project New Horizon has identified 43 potentially habitable worlds in unexplored space. Without council restrictions, our colonization rate has increased by 400%. The humans were not just surviving outside council protection. They were thriving. New colonies were being established every month. New technologies were being developed without having to share them with ungrateful aliens. New trade relationships were being built with a few species smart enough to treat humanity as equals. Meanwhile, the former masters of the galaxy were learning about consequences. The aquatic Nereidans had abandoned 6 of their major cities, as flooding made them uninhabitable. The crystal Meridians were living in darkness as their power systems continued to fail. The insect Thraxians were facing the collapse of their collective consciousness as their communication networks broke down. Intelligence Officer Kim Min-Soo brought the most interesting report of the day. The Galactic Council has officially suspended all meetings indefinitely. There are not enough functional delegates to maintain a quorum. Several species are too busy dealing with civil wars to send representatives. The Great Chamber on Nexus Prime sat empty. The same chamber where alien leaders had demanded human submission now echoed with nothing but silence. The council that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was dissolving before everyone's eyes. Sir, General Kwok said, we are also receiving reports of direct species-to-species negotiations. Some of the aliens are trying to form new alliances without going through the council structure. Miho nodded. Let them. When they finish fighting over the remains of their old empire, we will be here, stronger than ever. Han Myri looked at the galactic display one more time. The red warning lights seemed to blink faster now, like a heartbeat under stress. Do you think they have learned their lesson yet? Some of them, Miho replied. The smart ones will survive and maybe become worthy partners. The arrogant ones will fall and be forgotten. Either way, the galaxy will be a better place when this is over. Outside the window, a human colony ship prepared for departure to the outer rim. It carried 10,000 volunteers ready to build new worlds under human stars, free from the politics and prejudices that had held humanity back for so long. The price of arrogance was being paid in full. 2 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council, the great chamber on Nexus Prime stood completely empty. Dust covered the ornate seats where 47 different species had once ruled the galaxy. The holographic displays that had shown the extent of their power were dark and silent. The mighty Galactic Council was officially dead. Ambassador Han Myri stood on Earth's orbital platform, looking down at the queue of alien ships waiting for permission to dock. Each vessel carried desperate representatives from species that had once considered themselves humanity's superiors. The sight would have been funny if it were not so tragic. The first delegation to arrive was from the Zeltharian Empire, though calling it an empire was generous now. Chancellor Vextar looked nothing like the proud ruler who had laughed at human threats 2 years ago. His once bright blue skin had turned gray with stress. His 4 arms shook as he walked. Ambassador Han, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, I come to beg forgiveness for my people's actions. The Zeltharian worlds are dying. Half our population has starved. Our cities lie in ruins. We will accept any terms you offer. Behind him, other alien representatives nodded eagerly. The insect-like Thraxian Queen Mind had sent her most important drones. The aquatic Nereidans arrived in portable water tanks, their gills working frantically with nervousness. The crystal Meridians had dimmed their inner light to show respect. Han Myri had prepared for this moment for months. She carried herself with the quiet confidence that humans had learned from watching their enemies destroy themselves through arrogance. The Human Republic acknowledges your request for renewed contact, she announced to the gathered aliens. However, any future relationships will be based on complete equality and mutual respect. The days of tribute, submission, and imperial demands are over forever. The change in alien behavior was remarkable. These same beings had once demanded that humanity surrender most of their military fleet. Now they were offering their own fleets to human command. They had once insisted on placing monitors on human worlds. Now they were inviting human administrators to run their failing governments. Director Kim Min-soo of the Human Foreign Ministry presented the new framework they had developed. The Terran Cooperation Initiative offers partnership to any species willing to operate under principles of genuine equality. No tribute, no subjugation, no imperial ambitions. Just honest cooperation for the benefit of all involved parties. The desperate aliens agreed to everything without argument. They had no choice. Their civilizations were collapsing, and humanity offered the only hope of survival. Chancellor Vextar was the first to sign the new agreements. The Zeltharian people place ourselves under human protection, he declared. We offer our remaining territories, our knowledge, our loyalty, in exchange for the help we need to survive. Similar declarations came from every species present. The Vorthan Merchant Union offered humanity control of all their trade routes. The Scaly Arcturians pledged to share their entire database of scientific knowledge. The warrior Kargath promised their military service in exchange for working weapon systems. The most dramatic moment came when the Thraxian Queen Mind spoke through her drone representatives. The collective consciousness of our species has calculated the full extent of our errors. We underestimated human capabilities by a factor of 10,000. We request permission to study human organizational methods so that we may avoid such mistakes in the future. Han Myri listened to each offer with professional courtesy. She felt no need to gloat or mock their desperation. Humanity had proven its point. Now it was time to build something better from the ruins of the old system. The Human Republic will consider each request individually, she replied. Species that demonstrate genuine commitment to peaceful cooperation will find us generous partners. Those who maintain old attitudes of superiority will find other arrangements. As the formal meetings concluded, Han Myri walked to the observation deck of the orbital platform. Below her, Earth turned slowly in space, blue and peaceful and strong. Around her, human ships moved in orderly patterns, carrying supplies to new colonies in the outer rim. Captain Park Jaiwoo approached with the latest exploration reports. Ma'am, the New Horizon Fleet has established colonies in 8 new star systems this month. All locations are outside former Council space, so we face no territorial disputes. The success of human expansion had been remarkable. Without Council restrictions, humanity had spread across dozens of new worlds. Without the need to share technology with ungrateful aliens, human science had advanced by decades in just 2 years. Without the burden of galactic politics, human society had flourished like never before. Intelligence reports showed that the galaxy was slowly stabilizing under the new system. Species that accepted human partnership were rebuilding successfully. Those that remained arrogant were becoming footnotes in galactic history. The Meridian Collective had become a human protectorate, their crystal cities now powered by improved human technology. The Arcturian Republic had merged their scientific databases with human research, creating breakthroughs that benefited both species. Even some former enemies like the Kargath had found new purpose, serving alongside human military units. "Do you think they finally understand?" asked Captain Park. Han Myri smiled as she watched the convoy of human ships departing for the frontier worlds. "Some of them do. The smart ones learn that true strength comes from cooperation, not domination. The galaxy is becoming a better place because of it." In the distance, alien ships waited patiently for permission to approach Earth. Former masters had become humble petitioners. The species that had once demanded human submission now hoped for human mercy. The reckoning was complete, and humanity had emerged not as conquerors, but as the foundation of a new and better galactic order.